support.
Yeah,
People just assume, people, when you're just disabled, oh, you need a carer or something. I don't. I can do everything by myself.
I think
but there are other people who have got physical disabilities whose needs are going to be far greater than yours.
We have some of our young people who would love to move out, you know, but
and families don't always want them to have the independence.
But, you know, we actually work with them and we say, well, you know, and I suppose we do it on the basis of the fact that now with the personalisation agenda coming in and families, you know, people having their own budgets, it's about choice and it's about allowing...
So your organisation, SAPS, works with the whole family? And
we do. We come up across, you know, as we were talking earlier, about issues and challenges and barriers that the families face individually.
Sure.
Of course, I mean, ultimately it's society that disables people.
Yeah.
Voice UK, does that deal with the whole family, or are you dealing with the individual themselves?
Voice UK kind of helps people if they've suffered like a forced marriage, for instance, and say somebody that's been taken and they've been abused. Or one of the other things that will happen that I've come across is that, say, if a young man with a learning disability or a physical disability has got married, sometimes these families pick women who are very uneducated, who are from very poor backgrounds. They're promised a life in England, and actually when they come to this country, that life isn't what they were actually promised in India. They become full-time carers, they become isolated, start suffering like depression and having mental health problems.
We'll pick up on that, and Jignesh, I want your response to that as well. You're watching Broken Silence. We'll be back after this short break. Hi, welcome back to Broken Silence. I'm Sanyya Gardez. Today we're talking about South Asians and how they cope with disability. Joining me on the panel is Jignesh Vadia and Mandy Singera from Voice UK. Jignesh, right before the break we were talking about how families sometimes will take a child who's disabled to India and Pakistan to find them a carer of sorts. You said that your family actually approached you a few years ago and wanted to arrange you a marriage.
Yeah, they did ask me if I wanted to. And I just said no. But I feel sorry, you know, when I hear the story, like you said, of a person with learning disability who goes back and find the wife. And I feel kind of, you know, discriminated like against that person who's coming to this country. And he's been cheated. Not the person with learning disability to me. The other person has been cheated.
Well, what lesson can somebody watching the show today take from our program?
Okay. One of the things that I would say that actually marriage is about a union between two people. And it should be about because you want to be with that person. If you haven't got the capacity and you haven't consented to that marriage, and one of the things I would love to say to our community is, you know, there are other options. You do not need to bring another person into this country and ruin their life to become a full-time carer and have that life that you don't so much want yourself. And sometimes the local authorities and health professionals don't want to address this issue because
you mentioned before the show that some communities who intermarry cousins getting married, they then tend to see generations down the line that there will be more.
Because the thing is, I met with one of the imams from Regent Street Mosque actually, and he was saying, as a Pakistani Muslim, that actually we need to stop cousin wed marriages because actually you're marrying first cousins, a genetical makeup. We're creating a lot of disabled children.
Is that conclusive though? Or is it just
there's a lot of researchers out there. I mean, you know, there's lots of stats out there. People then will sometimes say to me, well, if I was smoking and drinking, I could have a disabled child. Or, you know, somebody could be really healthy and can have a genetical, you know, problem and have a disabled child. I'm not saying just marrying first cousins, but, you know, when you look compared to Hindus and Sikhs and other communities, Pakistani families have a few more disabled children.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah,
that
is, you know, and whether that is, you know, that they've married cousins and that. There is some research being done on that, and I can't quote somebody.
Has that actually been studied, though? I mean...
I think a lot of people have. I mean, it's been debated many a times, and I think if you look and Google on the internet, for instance, you will see
I'm aware
MPs
of
and things
people
will say that.
that, you know, marrying first cousins leads to more disability. But I wasn't aware that there was any kind of conclusive evidence to support that.
I think we need to do more research.
There's research into that.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, it's as like Mandy's rightly saying, there are some genetic conditions, but I don't think that's conclusive, and I think it's only fair that we shouldn't actually stereotype
single
or generalise.
out a specific
That's
group,
right, yeah.
for instance,
So I think
because at the end of the day, it's very easy for people to get the wrong end of the stick here and start
very
saying,
much.
oh yes, well it's the
Yeah.
Pakistani communities and the Bangladeshis. That's not what we're saying, but what we're trying to say is that this could be a factor. Your lifestyle can be a factor. So, it's just one of those.
Well, my whole aim for this program was to kind of educate people on how to deal with disability.
Okay.
If they come across somebody disabled, what would be the appropriate way to go about interacting with
Actually,
them?
not be scared of somebody in a wheelchair. You're not going to catch
but I
what
think,
you've got.
a lot of the reason that people aren't, speaking directly to you is because I think they feel like if they asked you something in regards to your disability that you might take it offensive, and you said that's clearly not the case.
No, of course not. If I take offense, I will tell them, saying, you shouldn't ask me this question like that way.
Do you think that we as South Asians lack sensitivity and tact,
No,
though?
actually, I don't think it is just a South Asian community. You could go to your GP and say your partner's gone with you or something. They'll probably talk to your partner and actually ignore the person in a wheelchair. So it's not just about the Asian community, but it is about educating our communities to say to them, actually, because one of the things I find that there are some taboos in the Asian community, not just in the Asian community, but I think communities in general, especially with people with learning disabilities and disabilities. We never talk about independence. We never talk about sex. We never talk about disability. We never talk about, other sort of like, about accessing services and things.
This is why we have a program like Broken Silence, to be a platform and give
And the
voice
other thing
to
is, we
people that
probably
might
think,
not
oh, well, if I
necessarily
go
feel
to
like they
social
have one.
services, they're going to take my child away.
Right.
Because Asian people have this sort of stereotype.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's
I
about.
think you're right. I think local authorities, we work very closely with social workers, and one of the roles is to ensure that families actually are accessing the appropriate services. That have fair access to care. That there's assessment criteria. We always ensure that families do actually get the right support, and I think you have to work together. And sometimes it's also about educating professionals as well. Culturally, religiously, and I think you're right in saying that that it's not just a problem for the South Asian community, but what we are saying
for just
is
the wider community in
that's
general.
right. Yeah, we do need to actually work together. But yes, the more we promote disability within our Asian community, the more that they'll
But
catch
Jignesh
up.
actually raised a very, very interesting point, and I think that I know that the wider community, not just Asians, are quite uncomfortable talking about it and interacting with a disabled person only because they don't know what's politically correct, how far they can go with asking the question. But you said, and I think that it's so inspiring that you said this, that you are not defined by your disability. That's not who you are. You're not Jignesh, somebody in a wheelchair. You're Jignesh, and you're a lot more than your disability.
That's it. I'm the person. I'm the person who have a disability, but I like to see the person to see me as me, not just see my chair, then me. I want the people to see me first.
If you could change it, so that you didn't have the disability, would you?
No. I've been asked that question before, because I need to start everything again then. If somebody just said, say tomorrow we can do some miracle. Some time ago, Mum just, let's go to India and this temple we can go and you can stay for 6 months and you can walk. And I said, I don't want to, because I need to start everything again. What I achieve now, it'll be all gone. I do everything. My friend had to start again. Everything will be different. So no way.
So you think it's made you the person that you are? It's made you better, a better
stronger,
person.
positive,
for it. What would you say to the people that are watching about interacting with somebody with a disability? What would you say to them?
Well, I would just say, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid. I was in India this time last year with my partner, and there was a people in the street coming to me, touching my chair, and asking me questions. I love that. And here, we don't do that. Here, Asian communities, it's like, we don't ask them. Like you just said, we just shut the door thinking, oh, we don't want to ask them. It's in the wheelchair or whatever disability he has. We don't want to know. They don't want to know.
So do you think the problem then is a lack of education
it is about
on
lack
how
of
to deal
education.
with this?
And actually, families